come to the next speaker and a very important city, the city of Varanasi. We have Mr. Gorang Rathi, Municipal Commissioner, 2014 batch IAS officer of Uttar Pradesh cadre and a textile engineer from IIT Delhi. He believes in accountability, and whatever he does, he kind of becomes a role model or an inspiration for others to do. Unfortunately, the state of Uttar Pradesh has been at the wrong side of perception. But if you ask me, and as the Honorable Prime Minister said, the challenge that states like UP face are, so enormous that any government would have been challenged, and you cannot really look at these things independent of the history and the development socio-economic profile of the state. So within that, can we compare managing the pandemic in Mumbai to managing the pandemic in Varanasi or in Uttar Pradesh? Answer is probably not. There is no one size fit. With that, I invite Mr. Gorang Rathi to share his perspective. What is the learning from the second wave? And far more importantly, how are they gearing up for the third one? Mr. Rathi.
Right. A very good afternoon to everyone who are part of this very relevant topic as of today's context, which is uh, moving ahead in our overall COVID management and with the third wave, supposed third wave looming large. Where do we stand? And we as a country, and then within the country, we as different units at different level of development, as you just talked about. So how do we look at it? We just had a very enriching presentation as to how we went about the COVID management in Mumbai, and we talked about the tools of management. We talked about the data management part. We talked about the gap filling. I'll touch upon a different perspective of COVID management, and from that lens, how do I see someone who worked closely with COVID response mechanism in a state like UP, where we initially saw that we had maximum cases, and of course, with population being there, most mortality happening. With that perspective, for me to start with, uh, uh, COVID was basically a response. So a human body was basically responding to a pandemic like COVID on an individual unit level, and each human body responded differently. And we tried to find a common denominator of management which would work well for maximum amongst us. That's what we have found across the world to be happening. So, taking that as an example, and because that's the menace we are fighting, I think our COVID response or COVID or our governance response for COVID management has to behave like one. So, it has to be like a human body, wherein you have different organs responding to the need of COVID management. The three important aspects being track, test, and treat. So on this framework, our different organs would respond to different stimuli, and our nerve center, from where all the messages like a nerve center in our brain is sending messages to different organs and helping it respond to stimuli. Similarly, central data management center would be basically acting as a coordination unit between the organs responding to the framework of track, test, and treat. So that's how I see the COVID response system should be. And like any human body, it's unique. And so for a city like Mumbai, it would be a bit different from a city like Varanasi. It would have its own challenges, and that's how it has to respond. And also with COVID, with different variants kicking in and our need and understanding of the disease evolving with the time. So similarly, just like a human body evolves with the two different responses, that flexibility, inherent flexibility and scope for evolution should be there when we do gap finding, when we do that exercise of preparing ourselves for phase three, supposed phase three of COVID. I think by keeping these two things in mind, we can have the best possible solution for how we prepare for the coming wave and what were the gaps that we identified in second wave. I'll very briefly touch upon a couple of these, couple of the points of this framework of track, test, and treat, and I'll try to draw home the point as to how we can really work upon and give the right response around the problem. Starting with the tracking part. So in case of Varanasi, initially there was a deluge of cases which had to be dealt with, and we tried to build upon from where we were in wave one. So at the time only had to manage a fraction of what we managed, the information we managed for phase for the wave two, and there were a couple of new challenges added. So the original challenges was just about tracking people, having them home isolated, getting them hospitalized, and as the demand during wave one was having even the, because home isolation kicked in late, so having the centers wherein right medication could be given to the right patient. To address that, we already had a command and control center in place, which we call KICCC, Kashi Integrated Command and Control Center, and we had the now very identifiable and much generalized concept of Integrated Command and Control Center. I think this is the pick of our center, wherein we were not only addressing complaints, queries, grievances, but also was managing the teams associated with sampling, testing, our rapid response team associated with responding to once we identified the patients, allocation, all the allocation, whether it be ambulance allocation, hospitalization, bed, corresponding with home isolation patients. So everything was happening through this Kashi Integrated Command Control Center. So this we already had as a base. Now wave 2 brought in altogether different numbers. So the jump in number was at least 40 to 50 times initially, and that further went on to even 100 times. So when that number kicked in, of course, we were found wanting in terms of human resource deployed to man each and every task that I just talked about. So if I'm to talk about just tracking part, we realized that we didn't have enough trained manpower, and even if there were enough, then we didn't have the supplementary manpower because everyone was falling by wayside as the time progressed, and many were getting infected themselves. So what was the supplementary manpower that we had? So this was another gap that we found when we did the soul searching exercise in May 2021, a month back, once the tidal wave started subsiding. And another thing that we found that howsoever bigger number we deploy through our existing means, they won't ever be complete. So we would have to bring in civil society somewhere. So with regard to tracking, not touching upon the details of each and every aspect of tracking. So just elaborating upon what I talked about. So what we found that we need to introduce something more and bring in civil society furthermore. So here in UP, we had this concept of Nigrani Samiti. So in wave 2, which we have further spruced up and which will be further active once wave 3 kicks in. So this Nigrani Samiti is nothing but composition of the local representative, political representative, whether it be a councillor in case of a city or a Gram Pradhan in case of a Gram Panchayat. Then we have our frontline workers, cutting edge workers of health department in form of ANM and ASHA. And also similarly, we have also Anganwadi workers who work with nutrition aspect of women and child. So all the local functionaries, the cutting edge functionaries at that level, the smallest unit of our function in our administrative setup. So a Nigrani Samiti was made, and we also added other fringe elements of civil society. And this Nigrani Samiti has been tasked now with not only helping us track, but also helping us with the distribution part and also the treatment part, because we realize that our hospital resources won't ever account for if the numbers remain the same, or even if they add further up, howsoever big the capacity we create of beds who have oxygen supply. So this is one important factor that has been added on to from where we were during wave one. Keeping in mind wave three would not only might just might only not only have more numbers uh, going by the empirical evidence, but of course the medical evidence says otherwise, that we shouldn't have that big a number coming in wave three, but we have to be prepared for the worst. And also the fact that pediatric demands would be kicking in wave three, as the initial emerging trends said. So we have to be prepared for the changes in our system, whether it be ambulances duly prepared for pediatric demand, whether it be having enough number of pediatricians on board, and whether mapping the trend right away, starting from May itself, we have started tracking what has been the positivity percentage amongst the age group 0 to 5, 5 to 12, and 12 to 18. And we are already mapping the data as to what has been the positivity rate. So this all goes on to us getting us better prepared when the uprise in that normal curve that we see starts happening. So I'll take just another example. Oxygen supply and management has been one of the most talked about deficiency and topic of wave two, and how something like this, which wasn't earlier anticipated in wave one, and whole emphasis was on having ventilators in hospitals, and how it evolved on to having oxygen supply and more on BiPAPs and HFNCs and oxygen cylinders, which is a step back from the oxygen supply that we have in ventilator. So how the situation evolved and how we responded, and going into wave three, how we think we would be better prepared. So in Varanasi, we had zero productivity of oxygen with hardly any industrial unit, even in the districts in and around Varanasi. So from starting on there, it became a firefighting exercise initially of getting oxygen from all parts of India, including Jharkhand, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. And from that day to mid of May, we were better placed by having the supply chain managed. So it was all a function of supply chain management, and having this supply chain better managed, we had around 1400 beds equipped with enough oxygen to cater to the patients who would have manned those beds. Uh, and now we stand at around 2800 beds of, manned with right oxygen, medical oxygen supply. And what we see is that our response has to be more decentralized. So we have uh, added this part to our response, wherein even our rural primary healthcare centers and community healthcare centers, both rural and urban, are manned with this, with proper trained manpower, because we realized that there was a big deficiency of trained manpower ready, who could have handled the equipments and the cases better. So I think if I am to zero upon in the overall treatment part, what was the biggest gap that we faced, then in addition to oft quoted oxygen management, rightly trained manpower was one of the biggest gap, and having a supplementary manpower which was well protected, so that in time of need we can have a replenishment for these trained manpower. So these were the two gaps, I think, that were identified, and we have worked upon now in terms of being better prepared for wave three. I think at this point in time, I'll rest my case. We'll have questions. I think few points can come out from there. Yeah. So on that note, I'll end my address. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Rathi. I think other than the governance problem and the supply chain issue that you brought out so beautifully, which ties into my Sanjeevani Bhuti example, that as an administrator you actually have to be prepared for anything that you cannot predict, and how you kind of ramping up in Varanasi and doing that. And this Nigrani Samiti, I think, is an excellent initiative that you have given, because there is no formal feedback mechanism. So if you are kind of involving right up to the grassroots level elected representatives and the civil society, it is very important to get that feedback into policy as to what you are saying or doing is working or not working. However, with my long experience in public policy, I often find that such samitis, etc., tend to become echo chambers. And unless until you have an independent feedback mechanism which tells you whether you can kind of balance out the feedback that you're getting from Nigrati Samitis, which are kind of appointed, and from the people who are directly talking to you, there would be. So I would suggest that today, kind of technology allows you a lot of technology to do surveys and citizen feedback, which could be anonymized. People could just tell you what is going on, and you would may want to use this as an asset test vis-a-vis what the Nigrani Samiti is saying, and what you think, and find out a judicious balance of what is the right policy intervention. Otherwise, you'll find that sometimes the felt needs do not come to the policy table, and it is far too late by the time we realize that actually we're listening to some echoes and not listening to what the people needed.
Right. So, if you allow me to this, I'll respond very briefly. Unlike many other, pressure groups which operate during normal times and uh, tend to corner the benefits that can be accrued from raising voices at right levels. In case of COVID, we both are we both have a common denominator. So that they can be tracked and treated well, and also onus has been given to them as well, and not they are not to be just someone who's bringing in the knowledge from grassroots to us. So with this natural check and balance of having common end served, wherein even if they inflate the numbers, even if they are to bring a wrong person, we would merely be checking and maybe coming back with information that we didn't get the right person, which is fine. But at some point in time, along amidst the noise and cacophony that prevails, we are getting the call.
With that, let me again invite Dr. Ramachandran and also Dipalipan Joshi, who's a distinguished fellow. He's a development economist, writer on economic subjects. He was with executive director with RBI. She's also joining us for this discussion. So, quick feedback from Dr. Ramachandran. UP is a unique case, and you understand UP very well, being originally from the state. Would you like to comment?
Well, thank you. I suppose we all understand and appreciate that the level of technology awareness and the communication systems which a city like Mumbai can have, it's not immediately replicable in a city like Varanasi. So that is a basic issue, but I suppose this young officer must be trying his best. Unfortunately, knowing the UP experience, anything to get institutionalized in UP, it takes time. So this Nigrani Samiti and all, as you mentioned, Samir, it could be an arrangement. But unfortunately, UP has not thought in terms of ward level committees and going down to the area sabhas to have a mechanism whereby people's participation is institutionalized and the administration can take advantage of that. Of course, it's a long-term reform. My suggestion alone will not make a difference. The other question I wanted to have was, of course, probably he didn't have the time to cover the vaccination coverage and things like that, whether he has been able to cover a good number of, a good percentage of people in the city, like Mumbai presented, first dose, second dose, senior citizens, and all the like. One good thing which is emerging from both the presentation is that there is a very keen awareness as far as the pediatric preparation is concerned. So as I mentioned in my in the beginning in my address, children's issues, that has to be in focus, and I'm glad Varanasi also has taken note of that. The other point I have is, if my understanding is correct, a city like Varanasi must be having good number of people coming in from the neighboring village, rural areas and going back. How do you handle their problems, issues in the sense that, are they carriers? Are they handled when they are into the city? Is there a dimension to it since they keep coming and going? Also, when we talk about Mumbai, we talk about slum dwellers. If I'm right, in Varanasi, of course, there will be large number of people visiting temples and the like. But Varanasi has a large number of cycle rickshaw pullers also, as far as I recall. So that must also be a very, very dominant section of society who have to earn a livelihood. So these different cross sections, which are characteristics of particular cities, how have they been handled? That will be of interest to us. I'll stop at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I request Mr. Rathi to respond. Let me just quickly take a comment from Dipali and Sujit as well.
तो प्रधानमंत्री भी इसमें रुचि ही नहीं ले रहे हैं, अपितु हैंड्स ऑन है। और उन्होंने 18 अप्रैल को भी आप लोगों के साथ सारे डिविजनल कमिश्नर्स के साथ मीटिंग करी थी, और हमारे जो चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं माननीय योगी आदित्यनाथ जी, वे भी इसमें फीडबैक ले रहे हैं। जो आपने एक सामूहिक प्रयास का प्रयत्न किया है, ये अच्छा है। जो आप कह रहे हैं कि आप निगरानी समिति बनाएंगे जिसमें आप फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर अर्थात आशा वर्कर और आपका ग्राम प्रधान और इन सबको लाएंगे, ये अच्छी बात है। क्योंकि इसमें ऐसा है कि सबसे बड़ी आवश्यकता जो है प्रदेश में, खास तौर से क्योंकि मैं आपके बगल में ही रहती हूँ, मैं ये बतला सकती हूँ आपको कि बहुत जल्दी एक सेंस ऑफ कंप्लेसेंसी आ जाता है, जिसमें जो भी प्रयास किए गए हैं उनको भूलना बड़ा आसान हो जाता है। अर्थात एक दबंगई जिसे कहते हैं, उसमें लड़के बिना मास्क के आपको मिलेंगे, पार्टी करते मिलेंगे, और ऐसा लगेगा कि ये कोविड ढोल धमाका इतना ज्यादा होगा कि ये एक स्पेक्टर जिसने हमें हॉन्ट किया है, ये शायद था ही नहीं और ये अर्थहीन है। तो पहला प्रयास तो आपका ये होना चाहिए कि आप एक अवेयरनेस बढ़ाएं, और ये लाउड स्पीकर द्वारा और हर आयोजन में, और खास तौर पे गंगा तट पर, क्योंकि ये होली सिटी है, यहाँ पर लोग गंगा आरती के लिए आते हैं, अपनी आस्था से आते हैं। लेकिन आपका अनवरत प्रयत्न इसमें होना पड़ेगा, और आपसे ही बाकी जो जिले हैं वो इसका एक ब्लूप्रिंट लेकर आगे काम करेंगे। तो थर्ड वेव के लिए आपको बिल्कुल तैयार होना पड़ेगा। और ये जो आपकी जो शुरू में टीजिंग ट्रबल्स थे, अर्थात जो आपने बताया कि ऑक्सीजन नहीं थी, बेड नहीं थी, अस्पताल नहीं थे, ये सब तो आपके काबू में है। अब आपको सिर्फ एक अवेयरनेस जनरेट करने की आवश्यकता है और क्विक रिस्पांस की आवश्यकता है, क्योंकि बिना उसके फिर मुश्किल बढ़ सकती है। परंतु आप जिस शहर में हैं उसके तो रखवाले ही संकट मोचन है, तो आपको कोई चिंता की आवश्यकता नहीं है। और मैं बिल्कुल, मुझे बहुत आस्था है संकट मोचन में, और जरूर आपके सारे प्रयास जो हैं वो सफल होंगे। आई थिंक दैट्स ऑल। आई स्टॉप हियर।
थैंक यू सुजीत। संकट मोचन के आशीर्वाद के साथ खुद हम लोगों को भी प्रयास करना पड़ेगा।
बिल्कुल।
और एक एक करके जो सबने बोला, सबने यही बोला कि अवेयरनेस क्रिएशन और फीडबैक लूप, ये दो मेन चैलेंजेस हैं। बाकी सारी चीजें राठी साहब कर लेंगे, क्योंकि एक जो वाराणसी स्थिति है उसमें मुझे नहीं लगता कि रिसोर्सेज की प्रॉब्लम उतनी ज्यादा होने वाली है। सो सुजीत, इसके अंदर आपको लगता है कि कोई भूमिका डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजीज की हो सकती है? कुछ लेसन वहाँ पे हैं सीखने के? ऐसा क्या किया जाए कि लोगों की आवाज एकदम से पहुंच जाए और अवेयरनेस एकदम से बढ़ जाए?
बिल्कुल। सो अब दीपाली जी ने हिंदी में शुरुआत करी है, तो अभी हम हिंदी में ही कंटिन्यू करते हैं।
बहुत बढ़िया।
मैं हिंदी और इंग्लिश का मिक्सचर करूंगा, सो दैट टेक्नोलॉजी को मैं इंग्लिश में एक्सप्लेन कर पाऊं एंड बाकी बात मैं हिंदी में कर सकूं, करने की कोशिश करूंगा। बट समीर जी एंड गौरव सर, आई थिंक एक जो बात निकल के आ रही है हर कन्वर्सेशन में, एंड और ये हर सिटी आई थिंक अटेम्प्ट भी कर रही है कि कितना पार्टिसिपेटिव बना सके हम इस कोविड रिस्पांस को। आई थिंक वो हर सिटी कोशिश कर रही है टू मेक इट मोर एंड मोर पार्टिसिपेटिव। बट कहीं ना कहीं पार्टिसिपेटिव गवर्नेंस या पार्टिसिपेटिव, जब हम पार्टिसिपेटिव वर्ड यूज करते हैं तो उसमें इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइजेशन एक बहुत बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट एलिमेंट है। अगर आप पार्टिसिपेशन को इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज नहीं करेंगे, देन इट विल बिकम एडहॉक। एडहॉक में आप कभी भी यू आर नॉट एबल टू कैप्चर ऑल द वॉइसेस। तो जब हम इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइजेशन ऑफ पार्टिसिपेशन का बात कर रहे हैं, तो उस वक्त टेक्नोलॉजी, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी प्लेज अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल, बिकॉज इट इज अ इक्वलाइजर। टेक्नोलॉजी डिफरेंशिएट नहीं करता है between people. It is an equalizer as long as you are able to reach to the right to everybody. तो अगर आप टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज करेंगे, नंबर वन टू लिसन, आप लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं, लोगों का परसेप्शन क्या है, फीलिंग क्या है, आपने वो डेटा कैप्चर किया, दैट इज स्टेप वन। दैट इज probably 1/3 of the work that needs to be done in this. The other 2/3 is first analyzing what people are saying, making, getting meaning out of what people are saying, and more importantly, actionizing. So, I'll take an example. Let us say अगर हम एक वार्ड में या एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया में हम ये परसेप्शन कैप्चर कर रहे हैं कि इस एरिया में वैक्सीनेशन लो है, या नंबर ऑफ केसेस, रिपोर्टेड नंबर ऑफ केसेस वर्सेस एक्चुअल नंबर ऑफ केसेस, द परसेप्शन ऑफ एक्चुअल नंबर ऑफ केसेस इज हाई versus the as one of the T's of Mr. Rathi that pointed out, the tracking part, what is being tracked versus the perception that is growing in the community, in the ward, is there is a difference between there. So once you have analyzed, gathered and analyzed this data, most important is action, taking action on that analysis. So when you're able to do that without any human intervention, if you're able to automate all of this, then you remove all the inefficiencies that are there in the system to address the needs of the citizen. So that becomes your truly participative governance in all sense. So आप you're listening, आप analyze कर रहे हैं और आप action ले रहे हैं उस analysis और उस feedback के ऊपर. So that is what technology can enable you to do, that you're not dependent on people or an individual to do this. You institutionalize this mechanism and create a process where every feedback is listened to, analyzed and acted upon.
Thank you, सुजीत. मुझे लगता है कि सबने दिल भर के सुझाव दे दिए हैं राठी साहब को, और शायद उनके पास खुद अपना भावना व्यक्त करने का समय कुछ कम था. मुझे तो लगता है कि जितने सुझाव हमने दिए हैं इस पे शायद काफ़ी कुछ पे वो ऑलरेडी सोच रहे होंगे, काम कर रहे होंगे, और जहां आवश्यकता है अगर हम लोग उसमें थोड़ा श्रमदान करें, उनसे मिलें, बात करें, तो बात आगे बढ़ सकती है. बट राठी साहब, अगर आप एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव रिस्पॉन्स दे पाएँ, गिवन ऑल्सो द फैक्ट कि यूपी इज गोइंग टू बी हेडिंग इनटू इलेक्शन सून, सो परसेप्शन इज गोइंग टू बिकम रियलिटी, तो इसको हम कैसे देखें?
एक चीज समीर भाई, इनकी सराहना करना आवश्यक है, क्योंकि इन्होंने बहुत थोड़े समय में, बहुत मुश्किल समय में एकदम काबू कर लिया, और इस प्रयास और इस प्रयत्न को हम बहुत सार्थक मानते हैं. फिर आपने जैसा कहा ही है.
Very, very good. It is not, I have been in UP and you live in UP, it is not easy. All I can tell you, it is not easy, specifically for a young IAS who's sitting at the top of the constituency of the Prime Minister. It is certainly not easy, and I'm sure his deliverable would be the toughest in the country. So Rathi Saab, whatever you'd like to share and say, please.
Right. First of all, let me thank our eminent panelists, Dr. Ramachandran, Dr. Joshi, Mr. Sujit. These are all valuable insights. And going ahead, yes, institutionalizing is a challenge in UP, and then there are different levels of having something institutionalized. So what level are we seeking? And COVID demands nothing less than the top level. So us level pe UP mein le jane ke liye, yes, there are challenges, of course. But I must tell the eminent panelists that Nigrani Samiti concept is already, it's not something that we are using. We would be using Wave 2, we used extensively. And of course, as you said, how much are we able to institutionalize and getting we are able to separate this, the extra part out of the noise, out of what actually has to come out of it. Therein lies the challenge and the best part of it. And as Mr. Sujit said, that analysis is very important. So what we have done is, we have prepared around 330-page exhaustive document, wherein we not only identified the challenges and gaps that we face, but we have further worked upon the SOPs to the minutest of details, that ultimately the flow of this, just like in our body, the way neuron flows. So similarly, any message has to be, has to flow through a process which is least demanding on resources, which is easily adaptable, and which basically requires minimum changes once it's floated in the field. So that's what we did. We have defined flow processes for each and everything that we do. I'll give you an example of a simple flow process. So Mr. Sujit was talking about analyzing what is coming to us. So how we married technology with the noise that was created about the issues coming up. So any problem that we receive at our call center or Twitter handle or wherever, so we are basically getting it plotted on our GIS layers in command and control center, and we are getting aware real time as to what sort of issues are cropping up. So when we come to aware of that, then we basically push in that response team, whether it be for tracking, whether it be for vaccination or ambulances when the need was. So in fact, not just these services, but the basic services like availability of medicine, vegetable, groceries, milk, we got these also mapped not just in wave 2 but in wave 1. So we have tried to marry our analysis of the feedback through technology and implement it on field by having our relevant responses on track. So of course, institutionalizing, scaling it up would always be relative, would always be something aspirable. But I must tell the panelists that it's a work in progress, yes, but I think we are on sure footing, and the as far as making people a part of it goes, Nigrani Samiti is just one of the ways. Other ways wherein we have tried to include people is that, I'll give you a small example. So we have around 400 cameras in the city put up at different places. We have around 55 PA systems, and we have these door-to-door solid-waste collection vehicles. So every day they go in the morning, they play a relevant message. So while the message was about being at home when the COVID was at its peak, to the message coming that now you should be wearing mask, you shouldn't be getting complacent. So as and when the time is, we basically change the message and play it every morning when the vehicle goes. So there are 300 odd such vehicles going to each and every nook and corner of the city to sensitize people about what COVID is and where we are in this evolution of COVID as a pandemic. So this is a brief case. Yes, of course, many things need to be done, and UP has its challenges. But I must assure that pandemic is something that brings out the worst and the best both out of the society. It's for us sitting at the helm to channelize whichever energy we are able to channelize the best. And in case of Varanasi, because of providential, intervention, divine intervention, somehow it has come out well so far. I'm sure, and I'm positively sure, conservatively sure that wave 3 would be no different. Thank you.